An alum of Albany, class of '82. When I got the phone call that I was being honored here today, sorry about that, I got a little carried away. I'm a lawyer from Queens. We're here to honor the world-renowned pediatric cardiologist, Dr. Zahn. Let me just get my thoughts together. Oh, by the way, for the Academy, I will be available next year if you guys want to honor me. In 1978, I was dropped off by my parents at Fulton Hall, went up to my dorm room as a freshman. Zahn was the first person I met. We ended up rooming together for the next 4 years and have been friends ever since. So when I was asked to say something about Evan, I sat down and I thought, what could I say? So I sat down to write a list. I have that list here. These are stories, vignettes about Evan. Unfortunately, there were only 2 that I could tell in public. The first one is, Evan was always great to have around in college because if you were missing a bottle opener, he was able to open a bottle of Heineken with his teeth. Other than that, I would have to say that of all the people I had met in my life up until that point, Evan was the hardest working person that I ever met, and is a great example to the students out there who think that they can actually have a great time in college and be wildly successful in their life. Because Evan went on to not just be the guy who you can have them open up your Heineken bottle, but now, God forbid, he can also fix your baby's heart. With that being said, I would like to introduce the Texas-renowned attorney and litigator, Ted Anderson, who is Evan Zahn's best friend.
There were 3 moments when I knew that who you know to be Dr. Evan Zahn, I know to be Zoot, was going to be a successful physician. The first time was when we were playing softball at a softball field out there. I was a frustrated jock. I was playing third base. Zoot was playing first. And I had, as usual, fumbled the ball around as I was trying to field it, threw it as hard as I could at Zoot. He caught it, immediately dropped his glove down, and started dancing around because I threw it so hard. Evan's mom, who was there for Parents' Weekend, came up to me after the game and she said, "Ted, do me a favor and don't throw the ball so hard that Evan, I don't want you to hurt his hands. He's going to go to med school and he's going to be a doctor." The second time is, now I was a political science major, but I did know that biomedical research involved sometimes using rats. And it has to do with my trip to visit Evan at medical school at New York Med. He lived in a very modest place and had a legendary party that I was at. And I remember waking up in the morning. There was this controversy going on because a rat had gotten into the house and they had trapped the rat in the bathtub, and all of these future physicians had no idea what they were going to do with it under the situation. And my buddy Zoot took a keg and crushed the rat in the bathtub. So I think that constitutes perhaps the first biomedical research. The third moment when I knew that he had become a renowned physician was when he had been traveling around the world to do these procedures that he does on babies, and he told me that he was going to be in Munich to perform one of the procedures, and he was in Munich during Oktoberfest. And and I said, if you were so good that the Germans are inviting you over to Munich on Oktoberfest, you must be really good. For the record, I am not Evan's best friend, but I would like to introduce you to the dentist of love from Queens. Some of you know him as Dr. Arnold Fischler. I know him as Buddha.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Ted. Good afternoon, everybody. I also just want to make it clear that I am not Zahn's best friend. Okay. Dr. Zahn is in a profession that requires many special skills. The ability to stay calm and in charge of his emotions during these high stress cases he performs. That's one. Keeping a level head and making rational, clear decisions under these stressful conditions is another. It was clear to me that Evan possessed these necessary skills senior year of school. We lived downtown on Quayle Street in that famous student ghetto, the ugliest greenhouse you can find down there. After a big night out at the infamous Long Branch, a bunch of us knuckleheads came back to our house. Well, Evan was supposed to be sleeping because he had a big test the next day. So we got home around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we thought we were quiet. I guess we weren't. And we went to the living room. And in the living room, Evan had a nice fish tank. And in the fish tank, there was a bunch of fish, some of these lizards that live in water. What are they called, Zuder?
Lizards that lived in water.
Lizards that live in water. And a big gourami. Well, one of our buddies thought it would be really funny if he took this lizard, put it in his beer, and chugged it. And we were like, what, are you kidding me? Sure enough, he went ahead, took 2 of Zoot's lizards, put them in his beer, and chugged the whole thing down. I looked at my roommate, who was also Zoot's roommate, our buddy Glenn Titan, Boomer. I said, Boomer, what are we going to tell Zoot? Boomer looked at me with a smile and said, we'll tell him the big gourami did it. So the next day we all went off to school, went up to school, went to our classes, had a great day, and we headed up home later in the afternoon. And when we walked into our apartment, the entire place was in shambles. The couches were turned over, our beds were flipped over, our dresses were taken out, our clothes were thrown everywhere. And then we walked into the back of the apartment, and there was Dr. Evan Zahn sitting at his clean, perfect room at his desk. And we said, Zuder, what the hell happened? He looked up at us and said, I don't know, maybe the big gourami did it. So, at this time, I'd like to take by a show of hands, who as kids were taken to a baseball game when you were growing up? Show of hands. Who went to a baseball game growing up? All right, that's what I thought. Okay, thanks. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the chief of cardiology at the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital in Orlando, the Miami Children's Hospital, his own best friend, the only guy in this room that never went to a baseball game as a kid, the world-renowned Dr. Evan Zoot Zahn.
Do I have any time, or did they use it all up? You can only imagine what it's like sitting in that chair, seeing those 3 guys get up on stage after watching those antics for the last 30 years. There are no animal rights people in the audience, right? I apologize, it was a long time. I love animals. It was a long time. Thank you. I don't think I can share the why I have no best friend story with the crowd, but there is a little story behind that. I am truly honored and I am sincerely humbled to be up here today speaking to all of you. Growing up on Long Island as a little kid, as far back as I can remember, I had always dreamed of going to a well-respected university that was going to be just far enough away from home, perhaps an upstate